It's choppy. Even with you, it's in and out. Hello, world. Welcome to Americana. I'm your host, Willie Montague. Tonight, the curtain comes down, the truth they hide, the deals, the power plays, the lives being shaped without your say. We're exposing it all. It's real, it's relevant, and it's relational. Stay tuned. This is Americana. All right, you guys, coming up on today's episode, we have some hot topics for you. The 50-51 movement, grassroots resistance, or an organized chaos, defense bill, and then we're going to be talking about gerrymandering. Fair maps, is that really a thing? But later on, we're going to be joined with Russell Drake, who has no problem keeping it real. Lots coming up on today's episode, but before we get started, you already know what time it is. It's Willie's Take. All right, sit back. This is the time for me to rant. Enough is absolutely enough. They've lied for years. They've stolen our voice. They silence the bold, they punish the brave. We will not bend, we will not bow. We speak, we fight, we reveal. No fluff, no excuses, and definitely no apologies. Americana isn't soft. If it isn't quiet, it's truth unleashed. If you're ready, listen. If not, wake up anyway. Today, I am joined with Mr. Russell Drake. He is indeed an outspoken community advocate, and we're getting ready to dive into the hot topic of 50-51. Welcome to Americana, Mr. Drake.
Thank you again for having me. Thank you for the good work that you continue to do in our communities.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to get into this topic. For you guys that do not know what 50-51 is, it is a movement. It claims to represent grassroots opposition, but it is coordinated efforts and political backing suggests that it is a well-organized organization that basically is kicking up against this current administration. And so it seems like its whole battle is to really fight against the whole Project 2025. But I want to tie that in because it's about 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. That's where you get 50-51. So, Mr. Drake, tell me, what are your thoughts about this? Is this something that you agree with? From impeachment to policy change to a radical agenda, this seems to be what 50-51 is all about. What is your take about 50-51?
I think 50-51 first is a nonviolent movement. They come in peace completely. They have a wonderful website where you can learn about everything they're working to do in the community. I think they're led by a good coalition of people who got an average age of probably 35 years young. So it's good to see young people who are opening up their mouths and exercising their First Amendment rights in this country. Protest is at the heart of the nation.
Well, this is the
think it's
thing.
one.
What would be different from Project 2025? I mean, I believe Project 2025 in many ways is something, and I know people don't like this because they think that it's just a racist, initiative. But what would be different in it? It didn't incite any type of violence whatsoever. So why would 5051 movement and Project 2025 be like combating against each other if the whole goal is for us to have this normality in the United States? Why the difference?
I think the difference with 5051 is that they're galvanizing, educating people. They're making them aware of their right. And to me, Project 2025 strips away a number of rights and policies.
What are those? What is it stripping away? What has it stripped away? Because I haven't seen anything enacted in Project 2025 that stripped anything away. So what will it strip away?
Well, we can look right now at the tax on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and stripping out the ability for businesses to register as minority and women business enterprises, which is germane to the county, the city, the state, and federal contracts for people who've been able to thrive for years and get opportunities that they weren't afforded if this wasn't in effect. Mind you, minority business and women enterprises has been in effect since arguably 1969, but didn't get brought to the city of Orlando until 1983, and then the county in 1988, and all of which has been gutted now. So there are a lot of opportunities that have been gutted because of Project 2025. Just the notions in there.
So I'll say this with that. Do we really need to have some government oversight about us knowing what we can and cannot do as a person as a minority? I don't feel like DEI per se, essentially made me any better or worse for that sake. So why is it that we need a whole organization? We can come back and wrap this up here soon, but why do we need? So I want you to keep that in the back of your head as we're getting ready to go, but I just want to have that thought. Why is it that we have gotten to a place where we feel like the whole blueprint of our nation is we need the government oversight to be able to protect minorities? If most of the people who were in elected officials at that time, they continued to basically downplay minorities. You look at the 1921 race riot and how they were out water hosing these businesses. But we're going to get into that, you guys. I want you to stay tuned. We're here with Mr. Russell Drake. We are getting ready to take a quick commercial break. Don't move anywhere. When we come back, we're going to wrap that up. I want to have that thought, but then we're going to get into the defense bill and the culture war and what's happening with that. So please stay tuned. This is Americana. We'll see you after commercial break. All right, you guys, welcome back from our commercial break. You are indeed watching Americana, and this is Willie Montague. So we have with us Mr. Russell Drake. And before we went to commercial break, I just wanted to tie that together when we were talking about what's happening with the DEI situation. Before we go on to this hot topic, talking about the Pentagon and actually the lack of us being able to have people enlist in the military. So real fast, if you could, Mr. Drake, go back to that part about the whole DEI and why it seems like we need it, because I don't think that we need it to be able to know that we as people of color are able to get things done without having government oversight.
So I think so many things have gotten put into the bubble of diversity, equity, and inclusion. See, the things with minority and women business enterprises, that was before a notion was even developed called diversity and inclusion, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. This was just put in 1969 by President Richard Nixon, actually. And it was something that we pushed forward with because it gave people opportunity. It didn't negate anybody. It just brought more people to the table who had been declined things because of their culture and backgrounds, unfortunately. So I don't think it's government oversight. It's just opening up and saying you get more opportunities to businesses who have been systematically blocked out in the past.
Well, real fast, because we're going to move on to this. But this is, I love talking about DEI, so we're going to move on, I promise you guys. But I just wanted to get this because we are in 2025, and I just want to get to the point, what is it in 2025 that black people cannot do any different than any other race? Again, I feel like when we start talking about DEI, we're asking the government, because in many ways we're targeting, because if it's not the government, we would not be targeting President Trump and saying he's trying to strip away things for black and minorities and such. But why can't we just do what we need to do as individuals? What happened to those times when we did not have government oversight in places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, when they went out and was able to sustain themselves from their banks to the sheriff department to police department? Why now in 2025 do black people feel like they're oppressed and the slave masters waiting outside the door to drag them down the corner?
Yeah, and so as you know, in 1920, they were burned to the ground, right?
By Democrats.
Were burned to the ground by people who weren't black. They were burned to the ground in Tulsa, in Chicago, in Durham, North Carolina. There were so many other black Wall Streets around the nation. They were burned to the ground. I think these were put in place to give people the opportunity, again, where they knew there were unfortunate circumstances that happened, the bulk of in the South, of course. And it was nothing broken. These are great businesses that were getting opportunities. If they didn't meet the qualifications, they wouldn't get put forward. But now what it's done is it just changes a whole thing that's been in the process for almost 60 years. And now 65 years of progress is blocked out. It's not a good thing.
Okay, well, you have your point. I still stuck. We're gonna bring it back. We're gonna continue to talk about DEI, but I want to move to about this the Pentagon, and they should be laser focused. We do see a decline with people wanting to go into the military, but Democrats want tax dollar funding, gender surgeries, and woke training programs. Why is it that Democrats are so focused on experiments versus we need to be defending and protecting and being on the front line of the United States? But here we are. So should the military be about war fighting, readiness, or political correctness? And why is it we're so focused, as this what's going on with the radical left, so focused about paying taxpayer dollars for a man to chop off his penis?
So I don't think anything was wrong with the military standards that were had under the previous Secretary of Defense. Now you brought in the Secretary of Defense, who's probably one of the lowest ranked persons to hold the position with a military background, who just came off literally hosting the show like you. There's no disrespect to you, but perhaps he'll be the next Secretary of Defense when this one quits. I think overall, though, what the Democrats are saying is that they don't want anything in there that's going to keep our U.S. military, specifically our National Guard, occupying Washington, D.C. or other cities. And I see it's gotten through Congress. They're going to have an uphill battle in the Senate.
But Mr. Drake, what does that part have to do about them pushing, though, these surgeries? What does that have to do about making sure D.C. is not overran by, the National Guard? if our taxpayer dollars are helping to aid, what does these gender surgeries have to do with that? Like, why is it such a focus on, this equality in the military? You're there to protect and serve, not to worry about a cosmetic surgery.
And so I'll agree. I don't think cosmetic surgery is the thing. The thing is, don't cut benefits of people because of their preference or how they identify. That people shouldn't be have their health benefits cut because they want to identify as transgender. I don't identify as that, but I'm like, if there are people and they're serving in the U.S. military, they should be treated the same. They should be afforded the same benefits. Now, if you're talking about cosmetic things, yeah, I'm not. I don't think it should be equal across the board.
Well, that is cosmetic because you're either born man or woman. I know you may say people identify as transgender, but you're going to the military. Our taxpayer dollars should not, if you go into the military as woman, you're woman. If you go into the military as man, you're man. We should not halfway through the time of you serving our country decide that you're going to go and chop your penis off or go and magically sew one on. That is not the job of the government or our taxpayer dollars to have to foot a bill for these people who have some kind of mental illness and shouldn't be in the military in the beginning. That's what I'm saying. I mean, do you agree or you disagree?
So if you, to me, benefits, and I don't, again, I'm not as familiar with those benefits of that sort, but to me, the benefits for the military should be specifically for one's health, whether it's their dental care, whether it's their physicals, whether there's some, operations they need to have to live or sustain and improve their qualities of life. And I think because they serve, it really should last till after they serve in the military, because most homeless people on the street, as we know, are former military veterans who've not gotten the benefits that they rightfully earned in serving this country boldly and bravely. But in regards to that, if you're saying people are doing cosmetic stuff, it will be like somebody, in the military deciding,
Mr. Drake,
a woman deciding that she wanted. Yep.
We're going to have to take a quick. Don't lose your thought. We're going to have to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap this up. But we have with us Mr. Russell Drake. When we get back, we're going to talk about gerrymandering and who is crying wolf. Don't go anywhere. This is Americana. All right, everybody, welcome back. You are indeed watching Americana, and I'm Willie Montague, and we have with us Mr. Russell Drake. All right, every time Republicans draw maps, Democrats scream, gerrymander. I want to do that, but anyway, they not like us. But when blue states carve out Republican voices, it's called representation. So which is it? Is it fair or just fair when they win? Mr. Drake, why is it that now that we're seeing these maps, seeming not to go in favor for Democrats, why is it now it is just, it's gerrymandering, but they do it all the time? How many times do you literally see where maps all through, even in the state of Florida, from Orlando to Jacksonville, there was a map drawn? Do you think that that's fair representation from literally places in Florida and other places where people don't have actual real representation? What's your thoughts on that?
So I think overall, when we redistrict, it should be based on some data. So in Florida, to my knowledge, we're redistricting based on the census. Looking at the census data, that's why it's so important that people fill out the information. so you can learn about what's changed as we have so many more people that have moved to the state of Florida. Where it becomes gerrymandering is when there's an intention to carve out certain people from office. In Texas, you have a real example of true gerrymandering in the middle of the decade that there's no need to really redistrict in there other than it's clear that they want to silence some people and pick up some more Republican seats, and that's wrong. We even heard that verbatim from the president himself.
But do you think
wrong.
that, do you not see that Democrats have done that all the time, that they come in and, you know, when they have control, because it should be state legislators who are elected by the people, decide the maps, not activist judges. They come in, decide these maps, and then they run these particular legislative districts and they trash it. That's what we're seeing in Chicago. That's what we're seeing in places like Detroit and Orlando, where you have people who are elected by the people, for the people, but they get in office, they help to gerrymander it, and then they don't do absolutely nothing. They become just like the garbage that's on the street. What is your thoughts on that, you know, real fast? We've got about a minute.
Well, if anything, gerrymandering has gotten done. If you say it's trash in Orlando, you can thank the governor because he did a great job of gerrymandering around the state of Florida. See, you spoke eloquently about how it should come from the state house. It didn't come from the state house. It came from the governor. The same thing in Texas.
But the state house, the state house did vote on it, even though they they proposed maps. Just like people can propose maps, the governor proposed a map, and the state legislators decided to go with that map.
And that's unprecedented, and that's overstepped, and that's wrong. We have 3 branches of government, and that is not his responsibility, nor is it the governor of Texas, nor the president of the United States. It should be completely in the hands of the state houses. People should not get bullied into it. I don't care which party's doing it. That's wrong. It should, you know, people don't, the legislator shouldn't decide who gets to vote for them. The people decide who they get to vote for.
But these particular maps, though, because we're talking about state legislators, these particular maps end up going to congressional maps. For those that don't know, the state legislators decide the congressional maps, not the Congress decide their own maps. So with that being said, like, this is not like necessarily making it just fair. I think that it's fairness across the board, because we have seen poor representation in a lot of these blue ran down cities. When you look at Washington, D.C., and which does not have a congressional representation, but when you have to have the National Guard step in to police a particular area because it's so filthy with crime, what do you have to say about that? This is why we need representation. Whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, obviously the Republicans are more concerned about safety than the Democrats, or we wouldn't have to step in and do what's necessary to protect the people.
Well, if that was obvious, they would put some common sense gun laws out, and because they have done none,
well,
with all the mass murders that have occurred, they've done zero to that. Even with the tragic murder that just happened in Utah, nobody said one thing about gun laws out there.
But what gun law do you?
Else?
But since we're speaking about what gun law do you need, we have the Second Amendment that says shall not be infringed. What gun law do you need when the Second Amendment protects our right to be able to bear arms? Why do we
Everybody
need what?
should have that. That is a right. I support the Second Amendment as well as the First Amendment. People shouldn't be penalized for that. There should be some consideration to letting people have access, though, to assault rifles or things of the sort. You look at the weapons that are used the most in these mass murders that are tragic and heart-wrenching than we see.
But when we talk about the Second Amendment, what is an assault rifle? Is our Second Amendment. So we ought to be able to have and keep and bear arms. It didn't give any type of regulation of that. But when we talk about certain elected officials, that's when they go and say assault rifles. Well, what assaulting what? Like what? Why do we start putting these names when it becomes dangerous to them? This was a target that was on the back of a Republican. This was not about Democrats want gun laws, but it's the Republicans that are being targeted by the Democrats with these same guns. And we still stand for the Second Amendment.
Is it? Because, I mean, in Minnesota, we saw 2 state legislators that were shot, one and her husband tragically killed, to which we've heard nothing from the president of the United States yet about, mind you. And we've seen, and that was not by a Democrat, mind you. And to me, it doesn't even matter. It's not even among party lines who's doing these crimes. It's a wrong or right thing. And when we get in that thing, see, we're in a bad point in the finger instead of coming up with solutions. We should not be in that case.
Well, Mr. Drake, I thank you for joining us. We definitely going to bring you back. You already know that. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you guys out there. That's a wrap for today's Americana. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, only here on AFRO TV. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay Americana. God bless you.